What woman here is so enamored of her own oppression that she cannot see her heel print upon another woman's face? What woman's terms of oppression have become precious and necessary to her as a ticket into the fold of the righteous, away from the cold winds of self-scrutiny? Audre Lorde, The Righteous Uses of Anger, a personal favorite essay. Okay. Now, we are here because we are using the comments from last week's videos to help us go down memory lane. Yes, yes. Now, somebody blamed intersectionality for breaking the second wave of feminism. Yeah. Bless your heart. The second wave of feminism was broken before it even started, which makes me wonder if you meant the first wave of feminism. If you did, I find your comment insulting. Yeah, you see, intersectionality didn't break the first wave of feminism, and it certainly didn't break the second wave of feminism, because I want you to remember that either way, it was the white feminists who broke both the first wave and the second wave of feminism. Yeah. Because we have to remember who was credited with feminism to begin with, and that is Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And we have to remember who her partner in crime was, Susan B. Anthony. And now let's get into it. Now, the first wave of feminism was primarily centered around getting women the right to vote. But, small flag on the play, right? They were also kicking around the idea of giving black men the right to vote, yeah. And even though white women had been abolitionists, set my people free and all that, when it came down to black men getting the right to vote or women getting the right to vote, well, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, they just weren't having it, yeah. When debating if black men or women should get the right to vote first, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, along with Susan B. Anthony, went on a Feminists Gone Wild tour and argued that black people were ignorant of the laws and customs of the U.S. political system, and that it was a serious question whether we had better stand aside and see Sambo walk into the kingdom of civil rights first. And this was just one of her speeches. You should have heard the one where she insulted black men, indigenous men, Asian men, and Slavic men. I think that's the one where she insulted the North and said only Southern white women could save the day. Yeah, that was some of her best work. And her partner in crime, Susan B. Anthony, argued, if you will not give the whole loaf of suffrage to the entire people, give it to the most intelligent first. If intelligence, justice, and morality are to have precedence in the government, let the question of women brought up first, and that of the Negro last. Well, of course, nobody was talking about black women because I think we qualify on both measures. Regardless, She and Anthony would continue to argue that if anyone was deserving of the vote, it was educated white women. They then actively worked against black men getting the right to vote to the point where they kicked black women to the curb and got in bed with racist white women from the South. So when we take a look at the second wave feminist movement, right, we can see that it was built on a broken foundation. It was built on the backs of the first wave, and the first wave was broken. So right out the gate, the second wave has the same problem that the first wave has, not being inclusive to the issues that face all women. So what they should have done was correct the issues that the first wave had, but they didn't. So, just like the first wave, the second wave had the same problem. Some black and or working class and poor white women felt alienated by the main talking points of the second wave feminist movement because they mainly advocated for the women's right to work outside of the home and expansion of reproductive rights. Well, number one, women of color and poor white women in the United States had been working outside of the home in blue-collar and service jobs for generations. They wanted more money. They wanted equal pay. They wanted to be able to work overtime. They wanted to be able to join a union. That's what they wanted to be able to do. They were already working outside the home. And number two, especially for black women, Hispanic women, and indigenous women, they weren't concerned about reproductive rights. They were concerned about forced sterilizations. And the women in Puerto Rico, they didn't want to be guinea pigs anymore. Maybe close down a few of those birth control clinics. Because they really weren't birth control clinics, were they? You were testing birth control on those women. Why don't we shut those down? But those things were not talked about in second wave feminist parlors, were they? Those were not topics of discussion, were they? The first and the second wave feminist movements were not inclusive. Intersectionality did not break either one of those waves of feminism. White women's exclusion of everyone else's needs, plus their racism and their classism, broke the first and second waves of feminism. Baby, the call is coming from inside the house. Coincidentally, I have a playlist about feminism if you would like to learn more. This is Black History Month. This lesson was free, and I have Venmo.